Welcome, I'm Deb Shepard. I'm your host of Spirited Straight Talk. Thank you for joining me on this amazing spiritual journey that we call life. You're in the right place and you didn't land here by accident. My intention is to help you learn to free yourself of things that are holding you back and create a life that truly makes your soul happy. I'll be talking about key insights and interesting topics to help you learn how to powerfully co-create with the universe. I will cover everything from turning your setbacks into triumphs, and my favorite, living your soul's purpose. Of course, I'll be connecting with spirit, your guides, and the favorite one, of course, is your loved ones on the other side. If you're ready to truly stop spinning circles and you're ready to harness the power to co-create an authentic life with spirit, then I hope you join me every week for Spirited Straight Talk. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Dane and I are here. Guess what we're going to talk about? Have you ever tried to let go of a situation, but you want to control how you let go? I mean, people that are controlling seem to have that struggle. I always compare it to, you remember when you used to get magnets and you try to put them together and they can't connect, they repel.
Yeah.
That's to me the image I get when I think about someone trying to let go, but they want to control how that occurs and what happens. And I have a story to kind of share what this would look like. So when I first started doing this work, 2 decades ago, I was learning about feng shui and I wanted to really start changing her life. And I went into it like I was joining a new MLM, let me do this full 100% and tell everybody about it. And one of the things is I wanted my husband at the time, he's now deceased. I wanted him to be able to get that career again and go back on that path and, be
Get that VP
job again.
Mm-hmm.
So I started cleaning out his stuff and started taking these big trash bags of things that he had kept that I thought were really a waste. And I'm dragging them outside and I end up tripping and falling on my knees and scraping my knees. It was a big universal 2x4 that was saying, that's not your stuff. And when I went back and kind of read some of the information again, I realized that you can't control or shift the energy if someone doesn't want it. Mm-hmm. So it was a great learning experience that I was trying to have him let go of stuff. I was trying to control it so he could create these opportunities. That is a no-no. That's boundaries. That's me trying to control an outcome for him. So basically it didn't work.
Right.
What happened is I ended up understanding where I needed to go, but it was the universe basically pushing me over and saying, really?
Deb Shepard,
don't
do that.
Don't do that. It's burned into my memory, basically because it was an aha moment to know that you can't try to change someone else's experiences in life and where they need to go.
Right.
Which is what I was trying to do.
And you couldn't control that situation from the get-go. I mean, it ended up where he chose to leave this earth.
Correct.
And you wouldn't get help, and not that you controlled the whole thing, but
you try to help somebody else. You try to get them to shift and change. And what I've learned through these 2 decades is you have no control over somebody else's destiny, nor is it the right thing the way the universe works.
Right.
It doesn't work that way. And it was a lot of fear. And when you put fear into that energy as well, what do you think you're going to create? More of that fear. So what happens with the letting go, but you want to control, people say, if I can just let go of the situation.
Or why can't I let go? Why can't I just let go?
Because you're not done with understanding it.
You have a lesson.
You have a lesson still.
A life lesson, yeah.
So what you want to do is find the deeper meaning into the story. And I remember when I was much younger, things that happened to me, I would want to rehash them over and over and over again. And
you want to overthink it.
Yeah. And also it was sort of like my badge of honor. Look what I've been through. Can't you have compassion? It was a value. Can you have compassion for me? Can you pity me? And this is why I can't do certain things, is because this is what's happened to me. The little drama, right?
We meet people like that.
Yes, we do.
And we try to coach them out of it. So how did you How did you change your thought process?
Well, everything I've taught and I teach, and that I'm still doing for myself today, is realizing that the universe has a bigger plan, and it's trusting and surrendering that if you stop telling your story and making that story bigger, that there are other. It's the vision I'm getting right now is going on the other side of a creek where there is stones where you step over each stone to get to the other side.
To the where the fairies are.
Where the fairies are. And what happens is that we sometimes don't pay attention to our surroundings and what's happening. It's even that fact that when we tell these stories that we put so much energy into, we end up attracting people with the same stories. And then you really
Yeah.
feel like it's much bigger, unless you're going to be making a huge change. Like I do get involved with a lot of suicide awareness groups. So it's not that I want to go tell that story, but it is helping people through that energy and understanding and the loss. But a lot of times we connect with people with the same story because then it begins to have more energy. And we like, wow, yeah, me too. And yeah, that happened to me. And what did you do? It
Right.
becomes this bigger, it's like the elephant in the room versus how can we heal this so we understand it. And what I've noticed over the years is when people have these stories, it ends up keeping them from having a real full life. They maybe they had a bad relationship, so they'll never open their heart up again, or they even went to a bad psychic and feel like they can never go to another psychic again.
Right.
So whatever that experience is, it keeps them from really enjoying life.
I think I went through a period like that myself, and I know the podcast that was my story a while back, I talk a little bit about that, where I felt like because of my childhood I had to control every aspect of my life. Like every minute I had to have some, I had to have that piece of control so that I felt safe.
And that's the word, safe.
Yeah. And over time, I've realized I don't have to control everything to feel that I'm safe. So it's profound when you finally realize, okay, I don't have to control everything. I can still feel safe and not have to have everything perfect.
And that's the word I was looking for. It's the perfection. When you're in fear and you can't have that relationship with the universe, God, whatever you believe in, that means you're not going to trust a process. And feeling safe means that you're the only one that can create it. So you create perfection. And if it's not perfect, then you don't feel safe. There's that merry-go-round. Instead of saying, I have the tools, I have the insight, I know that if something shows up, I have the ability to manage what shows up.
And it's interesting because I would even control what I ate so closely. I mean, it's like that part of control. It's like you're so bound by controlling every aspect of your life for that perfection.
Do you feel that that's an addiction for some people?
I think so. Yeah.
So people don't see that as an addiction. So the conflict here is, if I'm perfect, then I'm safe. But then the perfection is almost like not allowing the universe to have a relationship with you. You're not allowing, you're not trusting, you're not surrendering, which is, if you're trying to trust your intuition, you're trying to manifest, you're trying to create a life that has prosperity, love, health, all those type of things. It's not going to happen if you feel like you have to be in control, because control means you don't feel safe. So guess what's going to show up?
Right. And I think one of the biggest things is learning to trust the universe, that universe, God, whatever your belief system is, that higher power, learning to trust that
It can
they have your back,
Yeah.
and it's going to show up. Yeah.
And what's interesting about that, going back to my first story about making sure my husband would go back and get his VP job, I ended up in this career, and that wouldn't have happened.
You realized your abilities.
Yeah. And so trusting that process meant, guess what? I'm on a podcast with you talking about trusting the universe.
Yeah.
And that addiction that we can have with that story. I love the movie Groundhog Day because the guy is going through repeating the same pattern to change it. And that's really what you're doing, is you're learning to change that pattern of your past, versus thinking that your past, it's almost like your past controls or defines you for your future. And it's just thinking of it as an experience will allow you to heal it So letting go isn't an issue, and that you can begin to let the universe show up. And what's amazing, it always shows up better than what you imagine.
Mhm.
It's almost like a Walt Disney movie. Well, sort of. I think also that people need to get tired of that story. I do all these exercises to help people get rid of that story.
Mhm.
And I think part of it is we don't realize how much energy we use in those past experiences. And a previous podcast was about our energy coins.
Mhm.
And when you're with somebody that wants to go to this past and tell the story over and over and over, doesn't it suck the life out of you?
Yeah, you feel like you've spent all your energy. They suck it right out of you. You could call them a soul sucker or an energy vampire. We call them
Whatever.
soul suckers. Yeah, but yeah, you feel like they've taken all your energy away. And that's why we say energy coins, because it's like if you have a certain amount to spend, how much are you going to give to that soul sucker?
And what I see with these patterns, when people put so much time and energy and thought to that and fear, what happens is they keep experiencing these things to create a belief system that validates their story.
So why is it so hard for some people with that
As
to
you asked me that question, my thought is they want to find a purpose in it. I want a purpose why I had to go through this horrific experience. That's
and
what
they
we-
don't believe they deserve the good stuff too.
right. It's almost like they still carry on this tragic situation. And it makes me think about our children or young people judge them a lot because for them, like my parents, when they got a job, they stayed with the company until they retired, because guess what, you didn't leave a company that took care of your family.
Mhm.
Our generation, or my generation, because you're younger, my generation was you go get a job, you try to break the glass ceiling, you move your way up, you get the house, you get the cars, you get, whatever. And then this generation,
Our children's generation.
yeah,
now.
they're really trying to, thank you. They're really trying to say, maybe I want a smaller house.
Mhm.
Maybe I don't want to be committed to an 80-hour work week. And we
Mhm.
think that they don't have the same
drive.
but
Mhm.
part of it is I think they see their parents and grandparents going, you guys don't look really happy.
Yeah, I get the feeling that they want to enjoy life more. Like both of our sons have talked about having a tiny house and going to do things versus buying a huge house and
Being committed
yeah
to it,
yeah
being,
mhm.
that ball and chain to not a partner, but to the mortgage and the
Yeah.
responsibilities. And what I love about that is they're not complaining. It's like we go, oh, my boss says I have to work 80 hours. We have this story that we're not happy, but we're not willing to make a change.
Mhm.
And that happens with so many people or I just want to wait a couple more years and then I'll be retired. So
Mhm.
it's all this painful story.
So we talk about limiting belief systems all the time.
Absolutely.
We're taught limiting beliefs from the time we're born. Society brings that
Oh,
in.
100%.
And our parents learn that, our grandparents learn these limiting beliefs, and it just carries on and on. So why do we hold on to these limiting beliefs so tightly that we can't see that bigger picture and trust and let go of guilt and shame a little bit more? It seems like we have to work so hard
Yeah.
to get through this
I
and
think
to
it's
understand
judgment.
that.
We had a conversation with someone today and she said to us, I was worried about what my mom would think. I was worried about what society thought. And that's really it. We feel like we have an obligation to other people why we're making the choices that we're making.
Mhm.
And why do we need their approval? That's really what this is about. Even when we tell our story that we want to let go of, it allows us sometimes not to show up in a certain way because of our past.
It gives us permission
Permission.
basically to show up
Smaller.
poorly.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the only
Yeah.
smaller. It controls us.
Versus saying, you know what, that happened and I am a stronger person because of it, or whatever it is, the lesson you got from it. And we all have a story. I mean, everybody has a past story.
Yeah.
Some are more difficult or more challenging, but there is a story.
Mhm.
And so instead of using that for the fire to get yourself going, saying that does not define me, we play it so that we have permission from society to say, oh, this is why he or she can't do that
Mhm.
or doesn't want to do that is because of their past. It's the judgment.
Yeah.
We want to be accepted. Well, if I don't want to step up, I have a reason for me not to. I can't trust another relationship because these three things happened to me. So I'm never going to put my heart up again.
So when people show up poorly, do you think that gives them a sense of control? Because that's
Absolutely.
okay.
Because there's a fear of being larger. It's a fear of, what if this happens again to me? If I show up and I'm vulnerable and I expose myself, does that mean I'm going to have judgment, shame, guilt again? And I don't know if I can go through that again.
Mhm.
Instead of saying, guess what? Shame and guilt, all that, that's just bad, negative energy. I don't care what people think. If you're looking for other people's approval, your story will be more valuable. If you're not looking for their approval, you're just saying, these things happen, and guess what? It's probably going to happen again, but I have what I need.
You have tools.
I have tools.
Mhm. So you got to fill your toolbox,
Fill your toolbox,
which means
100%.
you have to listen to Spirited Straight Talk.
Yes, as much as possible. But I think we forget to look that we can do it differently. I think we get into that real comfortable zone, and even that story or the feeling of the pain or the blocks or the feeling of I can't do something because becomes our comfort.
Mhm. Well, I think too, when you're told, like when you're young and you're told how bad you are, or
You can't do
how-
that. Who do you think you are? You're not smart.
Wow.
Sorry.
Where'd that come from, Deb?
No, I'm just thinking about what we're told as
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah. And well, obviously you were told those things.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's where I was going, is being told, oh, you're never gonna make a bunch of money, or you're never gonna be as good as me, you know.
And no one's going to love you.
Yeah, exactly. And they make you feel like that's the case.
That's that limiting belief, that you start believing that, versus that's their belief,
Mhm.
but it doesn't have to be yours.
It doesn't define you.
It doesn't
Mhm.
define you. So that's again about trying to control, that you have to let go. I believe, and I teach this in all my classes, is I don't believe that you just say, I need to let go of this, because if you haven't gone through the process of going through all the understandings, it keeps with you until you understand the layers. And this is what I'm thinking about, which is a graphic story. But when you're pregnant, you can't let go of the pregnancy until you're 9 months, because it isn't ready to live outside of the
Mhm.
human body, right? There's a time period for us to go through a process that we're able to surrender, release, and trust, because that story is not bigger than who we are.
Mhm.
And it's that time period of going in. Why did I go through this experience? Why does it feel like it defines me? Why does it bring me fear or sadness?
Why am I giving it so much value?
Value. And so when you go through those layers, letting go is not a struggle.
Mhm.
It's just like, oh, it is. And we've done that on so much of our
Oh
work.
gosh, yeah.
Where
We've done a lot of work.
We've
Yeah.
done a lot of, I've gone through where, oh my goodness, this is sitting here, it's on my chest, it's heavy. And then you go through those layers, and then you're able to go, okay,
Oh, okay.
I get it.
Mhm.
Not that it isn't gone or it goes away, the experience is still there, but it doesn't drive everything
Mhm.
and all my choices that I'm trying to make as I move forward in life.
Mhm. I think that was a struggle for me with even speaking about my story in my childhood, because I've put so much effort into not letting it define me.
Mm-hmm.
But what also I did was I really just kind of shoved it down
Which
by
is
not
not good.
talking about it.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think sharing it in a way that is beneficial, but not living like that is,
You.
yeah, because it's not.
Mm-mm.
It happened to me, but it's not me.
Mhm. And if you are listening to this and haven't listened to Dana's story, it's a 2-hour podcast. It's 2 different podcasts that tells her story. And I highly encourage you, because I'm very proud of her for sharing
It
it.
was
And
tough. It
was
was tough to go through that. Yeah.
And of course, it was just a thimble of the information, but it's about you. It's a story, but it doesn't define you. So if you have a story that you keep telling yourself in your mind to other people, then listen to that podcast, because it will help you understand that that's not who you are.
Mhm.
You're much more than that.
So letting go of what you want to control.
Mhm.
How do we, like, where do you say we start with that?
I think the first thing is really learning to trust. And I do know that that's the number one thing with shifting your energy, is learning to trust, because anyone that walks into any of my classes, that's usually a top thing.
That's the first thing.
It's the first thing. I don't trust. I don't trust myself yet. I let this happen to me. I don't trust other people. How do I trust the universe, God, spirit, whatever, because I don't see them. So it's going into the trust. And I think one way is to, and this is kind of funny, but don't think about the worst case scenario right in the beginning. Like, we're going to take this trip, so we're going to plan that what bad things can happen, or I'm going to go on a date. What are the worst things that can happen? I'm going to get a dog. What are the worst things that can happen? We go into problem solving before we just enjoy the experience,
moment. Yeah.
the moment.
Yeah.
And I think that is where we go into the fear versus, if something happens, believe that you have the tools to move forward. I use the example of, if you're driving a car, you have car insurance.
Mhm.
If you get in an accident, you call your insurance
agent.
company,
Mhm.
your agent.
Mhm.
But you don't call your agent before you're driving. You don't go, okay, so I'm going to go on the road. I'm going to be driving these roads
From here to here.
from here to here, because you trust that if there is a problem, people don't lean into a situation that is new unless they have a scenario.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
as I'm thinking about this, it's almost like preparing for, like, what if the weather changes?
Mhm.
We did something today, we weren't completely prepared, but it's also okay that we weren't 100% prepared. And I think people go into situations that they feel like they have to be completely prepared to enjoy the moment, versus maybe there's a good story out of it.
And yeah, just focus on enjoying the moment.
Yeah.
But I think, like, for me, I want to be as prepared as I can,
Correct.
but I don't over prepare, I think.
So can I talk about what happened today?
Sure.
So Dana and I went up to this ranch, and it's mud season, or close to it. And I said, do you think we should take boots? Or they're like, no, we'll be fine. Well, we wore tennis shoes
And in the mud.
And slipping around.
And all the wranglers were looking at us like,
I said, sorry.
Oh my goodness.
Of course, they had all these big winter boots on and things like that. But it's a story about how we were not thinking ahead.
Mhm.
But it's a story versus, oh my God, it was horrible what we did.
But I enjoyed every minute that we were up
of it.
there. Yeah.
And
We just laughed and said,
laughed.
oh, well,
Yeah, we need to
it's
go buy
fine.
more shoes. And that was on our to-do list. And so instead of thinking it's a bad experience or having shame or guilt, like, oh, what did these guys think of us and these women? So it's like, okay, we have a good story.
Mhm.
And it is. They all looked at our feet. And
Tennis shoes in mud season.
I'm like, sorry,
So
yeah.
our tennis shoes are soaked.
Yeah. So again, that's just one of the stories. Expect things to work out. I mean, like today, we weren't up to our knees. And bottom line, the worst case scenario for us, if we could look at that, was having mud on us.
Mhm.
Okay, some people pay for mud baths, right? Well, we didn't at that time, but again, with that, so expect it to turn out. And I think the other thing, there's a movie that it's A Miracle on 34th Street. I believe. Remember?
Mhm.
She believes in Santa.
Yeah.
And guess what happened? And I think people don't put their faith or trust or belief that they're going to receive good things. They go into it prepared for, what if something doesn't work out? What do I need to do?
Well, and that's part of manifesting too, is believing that you have it. You've got this. You've got it.
You got it. And people like to help out. So worst case scenario is that, again, are there people there to help you? Can you make a phone call? Can you call Uber? Can you have your stuff delivered?
Mhm.
So all these things, again, are realizing that these can sometimes be a great story. I think people also don't go in. This is kind of the fourth item I was thinking about. Enjoy the ride, enjoy the surprise. So sometimes feel the unexpected. Go into places that you're going to say, this was not what I expected, but what a great experience. Is this a good story? Would I have not realized this if I had controlled everything?
Mhm.
And I know you and I've gone and done things and we went, wow, this is better than I expected.
Mhm. For sure.
Yeah.
But I think walking in expecting that it's going to be a good situation. I know I've had reservations about situations and I walk into them, or we walk into them, and it's exactly that too, because I had that thought and that expectation, that it wasn't going to be the best situation.
Absolutely.
And, either I was right or I manifested it.
Well, there's two ways to look at it. Did you manifest it? And the other part of it is, it's great to be able to say, I trusted this, but it's not the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Because most of the times it's not the end of the world when we think about situations. Oh, you don't have the crab legs tonight? I was really expecting crab legs or whatever it is. You're expecting something, you're disappointed, but it's not the end of the world. I think the other thing is to act as if, we talk about this a lot in pretending or the believing that, guess what? I'm going to act as this is really the greatest experience. And that raises an energy vibration around people around you too, that other people are going to feel your energy of saying, this is really a great time anyway. Let's make it fun. And that's what makes the change for everybody when you
You
show
mean
up.
don't be Eeyore?
Don't be Eeyore. Don't be a Debbie Downer. Don't be like,
I'm
oh my
blue."
goodness, this is horrible. So look for that. And of course, my greatest thing is humor. Find the humor in it. When you go somewhere and it's not what you expect, can you find humor in the situation that brings up your energy vibration again and doesn't have you carry that negativity of what happened with you? It's like our shoes today. I mean, really, was it a horrible situation for us to have muddy shoes?
Nope, it's
Tide-
fine.
Tide will fix it.
It was fine.
It's like, I think when people start practicing this new way, though, is to start small and then build upon it instead of having great expectations on a big thing when you haven't practiced. So it's learning to have good experiences with small situations so that you can start trusting it, surrendering it, not controlling it, and then realizing that that can happen often. And when it doesn't turn out the way you thought it should, like a business meeting or a financial situation or a family situation, where can you find the humor in it, the lesson in it, a story that can be of value to you? And those are the things you want to really look for as well.
Mhm. So what are some small things people can practice with? Like I know we had a conversation with somebody the other day and they always put their forks in the dishwasher for, the tine side up.
Right.
They have to be the tine side up. So she would go behind her husband and turn them all over. So they were all facing the direction she wanted
Mhm.
versus he did the dishes, even though they're all over the place in there. Did you really have to go in and control that?
And does it really matter if they have to be washed twice?
Well, to some people it might.
And
But I don't know.
And I said to this person, I'd like them to go down because I don't want to hurt myself when I get into the dishwasher.
Oh, see, I put them all kinds of ways. I usually put them up. So I never knew that.
Yeah, I
I
put 'em
didn't
down.
know.
Well, now you know. From now on,
They're
going to
go up.
They're going to go down. The other part of this is, I think, with people trying to get into that space is meditation. And if you're not a good meditator, it just means being present. Being outdoors, being in nature, finding some laughter, calming yourself down, realizing that if anything goes on that's not positive for you and you don't feel safe, who can you call? What can you do for yourself? Does it mean you take a big, deep breath? What is it that is your go-to to help you through a situation versus letting it take you over? And I know when I get upset, I can hold on to it. So
Mhm.
it's learning to say, do I really need to hold on to this? What value, how many energy coins am I using for this situation that it's in the past. I can't change the past and I can't control the future if it happens again, but I can control how I feel and respond to it.
Mhm.
And we both talk each other off the ledge when that happens.
Yeah.
If you're there or
Yeah.
I'm there, we know what the other person needs.
Mhm.
And that's what people need to find, that if they don't have it.
Mhm. And that's true. It's like you can't control the outcome. You can only control what energy you spend on what's going on.
So the way to think about this, if you're trying to still manage it, is think about your story as being a rerun movie. When I used to watch old reruns of
Mhm.
television shows, how many?
Andy Griffith Show.
Yeah, whoever it is. I Love Lucy,
Mhm.
even something more current. But if you think about how many times you're watching that movie and that's a rerun, and how many times you're showing it to people in your life, is that really what you want to watch?
Is that what you want people to watch about you? It's
Is that
true.
how you want people to see you?
Mhm.
And that gives you no power. That doesn't help with your intuition. It doesn't help you align with the universe. And you're going to be unable to manifest what you desire. It's only your rerun that you will continue to manifest.
Mhm. So you're going to keep attracting the same thing into your life over and over and over again, the same situations.
So think about your story as a rerun on TV that you were watching 4 hours every day. Ooh. Ooh, I don't like that. So that's what we want to tell you about is you cannot control life. You can't control your past. You cannot control your future. Letting go is all about healing, understanding it, dissecting it to really view what that story was about so that you can have the tools and insights to be able to trust and manifest in your life, which I think is what we're all here to do. So thank you again for joining us on Spirited Straight Talk.
Thank you so much for listening to the show. Each Monday is a new episode of Spirited Straight Talk. Make sure you hit follow so you don't miss any of the guidance or bonus episodes. Your experience at the show means a lot to us, and we would love for you to leave a review or let us know about more topics you would like Deb to explore. You can also follow Deb on social media and connect with her website at debshepard.com. That's DEBSHEPPARD.com. If you want to join Deb on one of the shows or have a reading from her on the show, you can submit a request on the podcast page of her website. Thank you again and see you next week.